This is the Dewanatron Hymnotron. It is a chord organ that plays chords in just intonation. Now, just intonation means that all the notes in every chord it plays are perfectly in tune with themselves. So normally, when you're trying to play in all keys using the same bucket of notes, if you tune them so that they all work really well in one key, it'll sound horrible in any other key. So what's happened over the last few hundred years is tuning has changed. So now every instrument you could possibly hear in Western music is slightly out of tune, but equally out of tune in all keys. And that tuning system is called equal temperament. And that's just the way it's going to be if you're going to pull from the same bucket of notes to make all your chords. However, with the Dewanatron Hymnotron, we've done something different. We have a fundamentally different way of making chords. Rather than pulling fixed notes out of a bucket, we create a perfect chord that's perfectly in tune with itself, and then just move the root note around. So I'll show you how that works on this. If I press down this trigger key, you hear a C chord, and I can move the chord around with this binary keyboard under my left hand. So here's C, C sharp, D, D sharp, E, F, F sharp, G, and so on. Now, with the right hand, I can play these three keys, which give you different inversions. So for instance, if I press down this key, I'll get the first inversion by knocking the root note up by an octave, or the second inversion, or the third inversion, or other inversions. And this fourth key ends up moving everything up by an octave. Now, in addition to that, you have pedals. These right pedals end up move the third around so you can get different types of chords. So here's a major chord. If you press them both down, you get a minor chord. Or you can press down the left one and get a suspended second chord. Or press down the right one and get a suspended fourth chord. What you're hearing here is 4 sine wave oscillators, each one of which has 3 stages of wave folding which end up in succession, which end up giving you different harmonics and partials that appear at various times. So for instance, let me try turning everything down so that you can just hear what the root note sounds like without any of that going on. So here, if I turn this on and bypass the ADSR, you can hear it's pretty much a sine wave, or very close to being a sine wave. Now, if I start turning up the volume on the first stage of wave folding, what's happening is as the line that's reflecting the part of the wave below it comes to the center of the wave, you can hear it goes from being its original note to an octave above its note, and as that line travels, you can sort of vaguely make out these different harmonics as the line travels. And that's controlled by this low frequency oscillator. So this low frequency oscillator controls the rate at which the line that's folding the wave is moving. So here you can hear it move fairly quickly through the wave. Here's going more slowly. Now, it starts to get interesting when you take that signal and run it through another wave folder. So let me turn that down, and now you can just hear it being run through 2 wave folders that are both going at different rates. can start hearing different overtones come out. Like here you hear the fifth, and then like there's a third. And it's even more dramatic if I turn up the third stage, where now it's going through 3 stages of wave folders. So now it's starting to sound like a monk throat singing on some level. Now I'm going to demonstrate the quake. So with the depth of the quake all the way down, you hear all 4 voices uninterrupted. Now, for instance, I start turning the depth of the fifth up. As I turn it up more, the volume of the fifth gets cut regularly to lower and lower levels. This bottom knob controls the tempo of that, so here it's like getting cut pretty quickly. I'll turn these other voices down. Now here it's like pretty much mostly on and just being cut for a very short amount of time compared to the time that it's on. And here is the reverse, where it's off most of the time and just allowed to come through in very short little clips. So it's kind of a pulse width control. So between the depth and the pulse width and the tempo, you can get some pretty interesting effects. Now if I turn up the depth on the third and the root and the bass, especially fun to listen to when you turn the glide, the portamentos, nearly all the way up, but have them at different rates. What else can I tell you about this? Oh yes, there is a switch here for Unison. It's called the Unison switch. So that will collapse the chord. So rather than it being a triad, if you hit the Unison switch and push it up, it brings all 3 oscillators to the same note except for the bass, which is still 1 octave below. And that can actually